Then Elena decides she's going to figure out everything Hudson isn't telling her. She is absolutely determined. And so she tells Liesel what she's going to do. And Liesel, I like Liesel because she's frank. She's very upfront and frank with her. She's like, are you sure this is something you should be doing since you have a history of going cuckoo? And she literally said to the girl, you have a history of going cuckoo. I'm like, you can't get no realer than that. She's just honest with her. And so Elena's like, this is different, which sounds like an addict. And she's like, this is different because I'm choosing to go down this path. It isn't something that I need to do and I can't satisfy it. She's like, it's something I'm choosing to do. So, Lisa's like, all right, I'll ride with you. Okay. So then they go to Mira's boutique to speak with Stacy. So at first, Stacy's reluctant to let him in. And I understand why. I completely get it, And then finally she lets him in, and Elena has her questions for her. And they get a little bit more backdrop of kind of what happened with her and Hudson. So Hudson had took her on a date. And then after the date, it's like he would correspond like via email. And it was all these like sweet, loving quotes from literature, like these nice, beautiful literature books. And she's like, that don't sound like Hudson, like he don't talk like that, and she's like, and he would even send her flowers. And so Elena's thinking like, nah, Celia's the literary one. So then she goes to see Norma. I say this heifer was on a whole ass, she was on a mission. So she goes to see Norma the next day. And she flat out asks Norma, so what's the nature of the relationship that you have? Well, this is also what she did before she got up there. So Jordan is her driver. So he takes her to Hudson. So she lied to Jordan. She was like, listen, I'm trying to surprise Hudson, so don't, tell him for like 30 minutes, Don't ruin the surprise. This helper don't went up there to talk to Norma. So she asked Norma flat out, okay, what's going on with you and Hudson? Because you seem like you want him. And Norma's like, yeah, he's attractive. She's like, but I'm not screwing him. We've never done that. Like, that's not our type of a relationship. And so she's like, okay. She's like, well, you just, she's still trying to figure out what's going on, because it wasn't enough to satisfy her and her quench for wanting to know what is going on. So basically, Norma's like, you know what, give me just a moment. So she has her assistant, who's a male, to come in the office, younger guy, and he asks, she has him tell Elena, was she involved with Hudson? And the guy was like, no, she's not involved with Hudson. That's not how she is. She doesn't, she doesn't cheat. And when she kind of sees the looks that her and this guy and the assistant are giving each other, she realizes, oh, they're screwing around. So when he leaves out, Norma's like, we got to keep it a secret because we're in the same department. We're not supposed to be dating. Like, it's against, policy. But, that's why she kind of flirts with Hudson and things like that, because it kind of throws everyone off the scent. If she's flirting with Hudson, well, surely she's not effing this, her assistant. And she's like, she can't lose her assistant because he really is a great assistant. So now I was like, finally, she doesn't have that doubt or that, what's going on with Norma. That's been put to rest. So she's leaving out of Norma's office, and Hudson sees her, and he's like, Elena? He's like, what are you doing here? And she's like, he's like, come here. Come in the office. And so he's like, what are you doing here? He's like, because you've been here for over 30 minutes, and you never came to my office, so what's going on? So she told him, well, I went to go see Norma. Hudson's like, okay, what did you come to see Norma for? She's like, well, I wanted to know what the real nature of your relationship was, and now I know that nothing's going on. So he's like, I told you nothing was going on. She's like, yeah, well, I need to talk to her for myself. Because when I try and get answers from you, I can't get them, so I'm going to find them out. So he breaks down and he tells her, that he loves her and he cannot stand being away from her. Because technically they're still broken up, right? Or they're taking a break. So then, of course, he F's her on the couch. And then he tells her, like, he has to go out of town to L.A. in about 15 minutes. And he's like, I promise you, when I get back, I'll answer all your questions. So while he's gone, they spend time texting each other, talking on the phone. She gets a copy of the emails that were sent to Stacy. And Stacy, sent them over to her. And she realizes for sure, no, these are definitely from Celia. So then she sees Celia outside at like a little coffee shop. And she goes over to her and she tells her, I know you're the one that was sending those emails to Stacy. And Celia, like, she's just like, you don't know everything, and she caught Elena off guard because she was like, I bet he calls you Precious. And when she said that, she was like, oh shoot, because that's his name for her. And Celia's like, that's what he calls all his women that he screws. And she was like, he even called me that when he would screw me on the desk over and over again. And she even asked her, do you ever wonder why I really had a key to his place? And that's when Elena lost it and she punched Celia dead in the face. And then she calls her a cunt. I thought that was the funniest thing. And Celia, of course, is like, I'm going to sue you, and calls her a bitch. It was funny. So then Elena's like panicking because she done ran away from the scene. And so she calls Jordan and she's like, can you meet me at Grand Central Station? And so she tells him what had happened. And he's like, it's okay, we're going to take care of it. But neither one of them could get a hold of Hudson. And he's probably still in a meeting. So then she goes to work. She goes to the club. She's still paranoid because she's like, she knows she's going to get arrested. So it's David's going away party, and he asked her to dance. First she's like, nah, but then he's like, come on, it's my last day. So she's like, all right. So she's dancing with him, and they're dancing all close and everything. And then David kisses her. And then he all of a sudden pulls back, and Hudson is right there behind them. And so he takes her to the private office, and Hudson's like, do you still feel something for David? Because he's pissed. And she tells him no. She was like, I was feeling lonely and I did make a mistake. I should have danced with him. She's like, but when he, kissed me, I pulled back. And she's like, then she tells him about punching Celia. And he was like, oh, that's why she called me earlier. He's like, I didn't pay attention to the message though. So then it all clicks for Elena, because he had said, I want to talk to you about something, and it might change how you feel about me. And that's when she realizes this was a whole ass game that him and Celia were playing on her. So Celia had noticed how Hudson was watching Elena when she dug up all the information on Elena, like her arrest and everything. And she bet him that she could be broken again. Hudson was like, no, she can't. That was the bet. So she was like, I think she always knew that was what had happened. But I think maybe a part of her never really wanted to accept that, because she had fallen head over heels for this person so fast. So Hudson's telling her, I have loved you from the first time I saw you. It was real. I didn't know it was love at first. He's like, I went along with the game. He was like, because I saw it as a way to get near you. And she's like, you think I wouldn't have wanted to be near you any other way? He's like, no, but I guess when Celia knew all this information, she had ammunition. And so maybe he kind of did it as a way to protect her, but it was still kind of, I'm like, ooh, that is kind of effed up. Because, like, she has a history of, like, going crazy, a little bonker. So, I'm like, poor girl. So she's crushed. She's crushed. And she's like, I don't think I could ever forgive you for this. She's bawling her eyes out. She won't let him touch her. She's like, I can never forgive you. She's like, we're over. So she goes to stay with Liesl. She calls into work for the first few days because she's just in no condition to be around people. Hudson was able to get the battery charge dismissed for her, and she kind of finds that out via Liesl. Mira calls her about the re-grand opening event that's supposed to happen that weekend because she's one of the models, and Elena's like, I can't go. Like, I can't see him. We've broken up. I can't see him. And Mira's like, I know, but I already told him he couldn't come. He's banned from the event. And at first, Lena's still trying to say no, but she eventually caves in. She's like, okay, well, if he's not going to be there, she's like, I'll be there for you. So the next day, Elena, she does kind of spiral just a little bit. And she goes to the penthouse, aka the fuck pad, because she kind of just wanted to see where he was sleeping. I think she just needed to feel close to him, because she was missing him terribly. And so while she was there, in comes Celia and Hudson. So she had to hide. But she could still listen to the conversation. And so basically the kiss that Elena saw on that video was a part of the game that Celia was playing with Stacy. He didn't want to play the game because that was his sister's employee. It was too close to home. But he agreed to help Celia with the situation. So Celia lets him know, you're not, that she's not done playing with Elena. She's like, I'm going to break her completely. And that's when Hudson tells her, no, you're not. He's like, you're not going to do anything to her. You're not going to do anything to any employee I have. You're not going to do anything to any of my family members. You're not going to do anything. And she was just like, how are you going to stop me? And that's when we find out that the deal that he's been working on, he purchased Werner Media. Celia's last name is Werner, okay? Her dad is he was. He was the owner of the company. So basically what was happening, this is the deal that Hudson and Norma had been working on. So what he had to do, he would buy some shares, but then he had to have like a third party person buy the shares, and then he bought that person out. So now he is the majority shareholder. Her dad doesn't even know that this has happened yet. So he lets her know, you do anything and I will take everything from your family. And I was like, now that's what I like. If you gonna cut them, stick them and twist the knife. Make sure, get a good kill shot. Because she was determined to destroy that girl. And I was like, oh my gosh. So, right when they're leaving out, Celia goes on into the elevator, and then Hudson kind of looks back and he kind of sees where Elena is, and he just kind of gives her a half smile, and he goes ahead and he gets in the elevator. So she goes home and she has a talk with Liesl, and Liesl kind of tells her, I'm happy you only fell off the wagon just that one time. She's like, you did, you're still doing pretty good. She goes to the event for Mira. Mira tells her, that she took her advice. They staged an intervention for Sophia, and it worked. And Hudson was taking her, actually earlier that day, he took her to rehab. And so Mira also let her know that Hudson admitted to what he had done to Elena. And, Mira, of course, like, I'm so sorry. She's like, but, I love you like you're my family, because Mira loves her to pieces. It's just like a sister she never had. And so, of course, Hudson shows up. And you know what? I felt like, even though he promised not to, Heifer, you was in that man's whole house. I'm sorry. If you can break and it's acceptable, he should be able to break too. Okay? So he shows up and he was like, she's all like, I thought you were going to give me space. He say, I was, but why were you at the loft? And so they go back and forth. about, the hurt and, apologizing and stuff like that. Well, him apologizing, she didn't. And so